All right, guys, a little history lesson to begin. I think you've heard these names. Used to be a guy named Thomas Jefferson. You may have heard of him. He was an American statesman, diplomat, lawyer, architect, and founding father who served as the third president of the United States from 1801 to 1809. Previously, Jefferson had served as the second vice president of the United States. The principal author of the Declaration of Independence, Jefferson was a proponent of democracy, republicanism, and individual rights, motivating American colonists to break from the Kingdom of Great Britain and form a new nation. He produced formative documents and decisions at both the state and national levels. He became the United States Minister to France in May of 1785, and subsequently the nation's first Secretary of State under President George Washington from 1790 to 1793. Now, speaking of George Washington, he was an American political leader, military general, statesman, and founding father, who also served as the first president of the United States. He led patriot forces to victory in the nation's War of Independence, and he presided at the Constitutional Convention of 1787, which established a new federal government. He's been called the father of this country for his manifold leadership in the formative days of the new nation. Yeah, but all that stuff is crap. Forget I said anything, because both these guys are pure evil. What do I mean? Item from campus reform. Students at Hofstra University protested a statue of Thomas Jefferson on Friday at the second annual event titled Jefferson Has Gotta Go. The statue has been a center of controversy on the campus and has been defaced with the word decolonize and Black Lives Matter signs and stickers. According to a media advisory sent by the Jefferson Has Gotta Go campaign, the protest was held at Hofstra Breslin Hall. Organizers included students of Hofstra University, staff from Planned Parenthood of Nassau County, and supporters of Hempstead community. Quote, "It's about what the statue represents, a legacy of racism and bigotry on college campuses." The group gathered on campus to, quote, "expose the culture of bias and discrimination," unquote, as stated in the media advisory, and to demand, quote, "the statue of Thomas Jefferson be removed." Related item from the College Fix. A Northern California public school district may remove a mural of George Washington from the halls of George Washington High School due to concerns that it's offensive and demeaning to Native Americans and African Americans. The controversy comes after a working group determined the mural, made up of several panels, quote, "traumatizes students and community members," unquote. But advocates for keeping the 83-year-old mural say the removing it ignores the intent of the artist and represents an attempt to erase history, unquote. My friends, you know, certain things just tie together naturally. We see America as a destabilizing society. We're coming apart. We're polarized and divided. You can't utter a word these days without being certain that you offended somebody. At the drop of a hat, people sue. Everything is PC or not. If you're not PC, you're evil. You're Hitler. It's the Holocaust. Now the liberals have turned their eyes to two of the best people who've ever lived. Thomas Jefferson and George Washington. Why? Because they owned slaves. So let's do a little thought experiment. Okay? We know that today in 2019, the thought of owning slaves is repugnant. But back in the 1700s, it was business as usual. No one thought anything about it. Let's jump ahead 200 years. And students in college 200 years from now are learning that, yes, it's true. Once upon a time, Americans owned cars. Those horribly polluting things. They destroyed the environment. People got run over. There were accidents, collisions, highways. Well, we're going to tear down the statues of anyone from the 20th and 21st centuries who actually owned a car. Now, if you're normal, you're thinking, hey, owning a car is not a big deal. Everybody does. Well, in the 1700s, owning a slave was not a big deal. A lot of people did. It's just the way life was. And people need to be judged in the era in which they live or lived. Without George Washington, without Thomas Jefferson, there's no America as we know it. There's no America, at one time the freest, richest, most powerful nation on the planet. Now, we're not the freest anymore, but we're still the most powerful and the richest. America, which has been a light unto the nations, which is the engine that drives the world economy, which is the military force that keeps much of the world free and safe. Yeah, that America. I've said this before, cancer is a disease in which a body's own cells turn on it and try and kill it. Well, these students at these schools, they're too inexperienced and too stupid to be thought of as cancer cells. They don't know what they're doing. They're being told what to do, what to think, and they're doing it and they're thinking it. But the administrators and the teachers at these schools, they are cancer cells in the body of the United States of America. Maybe it's that their lives are too affluent. Maybe it's their lives are too easy. They've been handed everything. Who knows what aberrant psychology is at work? But liberal educators have decided to teach their empty-headed kids that Thomas Jefferson and George Washington were evil. Many of them say America today is an evil place. I've seen people on TV who want to tear down Mount Rushmore. This is a sickness that America is suffering with. This is a cancer that is riddling our body politic. Now, if we just stand around and tisk and shake our heads, the cancer will grow. It'll metastasize. What you have to do with cancer is cut it out. And in some way, shape, or form, we, the nation, we, the people, have got to say no. We're not going to engage in historical revisionism. We're not going to apply today's norms to people who lived more than 2 centuries ago. We're going to say Thomas Jefferson and George Washington have earned the right to have their statues proudly displayed in the United States of America because they were among our greatest. And if your kids think that statues like that should be torn down, then shame on you for not having sat down with your kids and explained to them exactly what makes America great. It's Thursday. Riell Truth. We'll be right back.
And then you can hit the small bell icon. So a little bell will go off and tell you each time I've started to broadcast a new one. I hope you enjoy it. As Joe Biden launched, started to broadcast a new one. I hope you enjoy it.
All right, guys, welcome back. Howard Riell Truth. It's Thursday. You know, the first Thursday in May is always proclaimed as a day of prayer. And so is today. President Trump was in the Rose Garden at the White House for this day of prayer. And he called up the rabbi, the Chabad rabbi, from that shul, that synagogue in Poway, California, where the gunman killed one and wounded several. I'll post this video on my Facebook page, Riell Truth Radio. You'll be able to see the rabbi speaking. He's got gauze and tape on both hands because he was shot in the hands. But what he says at the podium is so beautiful and so important, it is absolutely essential that we listen to it. Let's do so right now. My friends, those were beautiful words, beautiful sentiments, very apt, very true. And what the rabbi said about prayer in public schools is also true. Now, I know, as soon as you say that, liberals begin screeching about separation of church and state. Well, liberals are going to screech no matter what, so let's just push them out the door and close the door and lock it. I don't pretend to have all the answers for the United States, but I do know one thing. Without God as a guide, whatever your religion, doesn't matter. Without God as your guide, you or any human being is liable to go off in any direction. If God says this is good and this is bad, then that's the way it is. If we decide, no, that's good and that's bad, well, the next thing you know, you've got every evil under the sun because someone will think it's good. There should be, at the very least, a moment of silence in schools. And that means that you, parents of children, have work to do. Even way back 200 years ago when I was in school, and they would play the Pledge of Allegiance in the morning, I would stand up, and the other kids wouldn't, and they looked at me like there was something wrong with me. But I wanted to show respect to the flag and to the United States of America. I guarantee you, in schools, if they institute a moment of silence, there are going to be some kids who are going to use that silence to think heavenly, spiritual thoughts, and the other kids will make fun of them. Well, hopefully those aren't your kids. You need to sit your kids down and tell them why a moment of silence is a good thing in school, why God exists, and what God expects of us. That's your job as a parent, is to teach your children these basics. So I hope that more school districts will adopt, at the very least, a moment of silence. And at the same time, I know that school administrators and teachers are almost uniformly liberal, which means they are concomitantly stupid, and they don't like God, and they probably won't do it. That's a shame. It's a major shame. Because, is this country in need of a little bit of religion. No matter what your religion, as long as you're not cutting people's heads off, trying to emulate the Almighty is a good thing. Let's move on. Item from the Sacramento Bee. After a heated debate that went past midnight as hundreds crowded a Wednesday school board meeting, the Rockland Unified School District Board narrowly approved a new school curriculum that includes contributions made by LGBT figures. The 3-2 decision came after hours of public comments. At 1 a.m., the district said it was set to adopt a new K-5 history and social studies curriculum. Parents in opposition urged the district to pilot an alternative program, saying the students were too young to learn that historical figures were identified as gay or lesbian. Folks, what we are doing now is institutionalizing mental disease, mental imbalance. Rather than teaching kids old-fashioned notions like, normal and abnormal. Instead, we're saying, if it's abnormal, it's okay, it's normal. Whatever you say, it's good. Instead of putting LGBT people into the curriculum, we should be putting them into psychiatrists' offices. Because they're broken people. May not be PC to say it, but it's true. And whether or not we should even be raising the issue of LGBT, they didn't say Q. I'll say Q because I'm more inclusive than they are. Raising it with children? Why? Why do it? It can only be destructive, and it will be. Mark my words. Item from the Associated Press, Dateline Tel Aviv, Israel. Israeli researchers reported Wednesday that violent attacks against Jews spiked significantly last year, with the largest reported number of Jews killed in anti-Semitic acts in decades, leading to an increasing sense of emergency among Jewish communities worldwide. Capped by the deadly shooting that killed 11 worshippers at Pittsburgh's Tree of Life Synagogue on October 27th, assaults targeting Jews rose 13% in 2018, According to Tel Aviv University researchers, they recorded nearly 400 cases worldwide, with more than a quarter of the major violent cases taking place in the United States. Unquote. Folks, this has been called the oldest hatred in the world. I believe that that's true. And I just, many, many years ago when I lived in Philadelphia, I went to hear the late Elie Wiesel speak. And he talked about how when he came out of the concentration camp at the end of World War II, and he resumed his life, he was hopeful. Certainly after the Holocaust, after the concentration camps, the world would learn the depths to which evil can plummet, and they would chart a new course and never again think in those ways. Well, when Elie Wiesel was speaking in Philadelphia, he was very sad, because he was seeing unmistakable signs here and around the world that no, the world has not learned the lessons of the Holocaust. That hate continues. And here we are 15 years later or so, and it's growing. There's a lot of reasons for it growing, but it's growing. And it's up to each and every one of us to speak out and to act against hate, against racism, against all forms of hate. Get active, even if it's only going on the computer and posting things on Facebook. We've got to combat evil when it rears its ugly head. Got to. Otherwise, they win. Item from CBS Local Dateline, Louisville, Kentucky. The family of a Kentucky man who committed suicide shortly after appearing on the Jerry Springer Show has filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Springer and NBC. The family of Blake Alvey said he was ambushed on the syndicated tabloid talk show on May 8, 2018, when he was confronted by his fiancée, Cassie Rutter. WDRB reported Rutter told Alvey that she had been unfaithful with his good friend, no longer wanted to marry him, and had sold the engagement ring that he had given her. The lawsuit claims the show knew the actions would, quote, elicit an extreme reaction, unquote, from Alvey. The suit claims that Alvey, who left behind a newborn son, killed himself, quote, as a result of severe emotional and mental suffering and anguish, unquote. It accuses the Jerry Springer Show of, quote, reckless disregard for the lives and safety of others. Quote, the Jerry Springer Show was designed to humiliate and exploit people like Blake, disregarding the devastating consequences that their conduct can have on people's lives, said Brenton Stanley, Alvey's family attorney, in a statement. My friends, look, my sympathy goes out to this Alvey. It really does. He must have been in excruciating emotional pain. At the same time, maybe a light should go on when your significant other or a producer calls you on the phone and says, hey, we'd like to have you on the Jerry Springer Show. Everybody knows what the show is and what happens there. And if you're invited to go on, you know you are in for a gut slam. You know that bad things are going to happen. So should anybody going on that stage in that theater in Chicago be ambushed, be surprised, be shocked? I don't think so. I also don't think you should go around suing television hosts because of something your fiancé, now your ex-fiancé, does. We are too litigious in this country. We sue at the drop of a hat, which is why I make sure I never drop my hat. All right, let's take a commercial break, and we will be back.
Before hiring a realtor from a big corporation who outsources their job that pays little to no tax, ask yourself, what do you want in a realtor? You need a realtor who's honest and has integrity. A realtor who's focused on the client lifetime. That's a realtor call. Who provides over-the-top service before, during, and after the transaction. You want a realtor that knows how to market your property. Hi, I'm James Morgan, a realtor with Grisham and Associates LLC. I am your Colorado experience. If you are looking to up or downsizing, we will do better than your last transaction. Call me today at 720-203-0731 or visit coloradoproperties.com. Let me do a great job for you. If I go just about anywhere, all kinds of different deals. The base is ready for 20 years. Just like that. Ain't no different than this. Just like that. Just like that. Just like that. Like that. Just like that. Agency 1360.
All right, folks, let me try and get this right, all right? So give me a break. Let me try and pronounce this correct, all right? Here I go, all right? I'm going to take a deep breath. LGGBDTTTIQQAAPP. That wasn't easy. Anyway, all those letters stand for some really, really screwed up people. And inclusiveness training, we were just talking about this in the last segment, has gone wild. Now teachers are being forced to attend training sessions to familiarize themselves with LGGBDTTTIQQAAPP issues. God help us. Here's Tucker Carlson on Fox News. Liberal alert. Anytime you got someone who will not answer a direct question, he's either a politician or a liberal. Yeah, so we don't know what it means, and we don't know who these people are, but you should feel guilty. You should feel like you're evil because in some way, shape, or form you have oppressed them. You've discriminated against them. Probably if you examine your emotions, you'll find that you hate them. That's the message that's going out across America today. We don't know who these weirdos are, but whoever they are righteous, they are victims, and we are the oppressors. Got it? Get it? Good. Wrong. If you're confused about something as fundamental as your sexuality, what better place to go than a therapist and or a psychiatrist? What the hell is the school going to tell you?
I mean, all those categories.
So only 5 people in Canada could tell you what all those letters stand for, but we're going to jam it into the brains of young children. Folks, it's theater of the absurd or what? This guy, former Liberal Party member of Canada, former president of the Liberal Party, he has no idea what this acronym means. This 15-letter acronym. All he knows is that they are saints because they have been put down by straight people. That's the kind of lack of thinking, lack of anything even approaching critical analysis that dooms entire societies. Can you imagine back in the 1930s in Germany? I don't know what the Jews did, but if Hitler says it, let's go! It's the same mindset.
That they are better.
My friends, you remember all the shows in the past months and years and the last decade? Remember when I said that liberals are dogmatic? They're not thinkers, they're feelers. Remember I said that? They're not thinkers, they're feelers. Well, here you go. This guy is a prime example. He doesn't know, he's not thinking, doesn't know what these groups are and who they represent. All he knows is that he feels this rush of tender emotions for them. For all he knows, 2 or 3 or 4 of those initials could stand for white supremacists or neo-Nazis. He has no idea. But they're good people. They're sweet flowers who've been treated badly by the world. Of that he is certain. That's the word, mindlessly. Thank you, Tucker. Mindlessly. That's how liberals go along, mindlessly. They wear their hearts on their sleeves. They're full of emotion. It's easy to get their tears to well up. But they don't know what the hell they're talking about. And they're not interested in knowing. This joker on TV isn't interested. doesn't know what the letters stand for, who they represent. All he knows is they've got to teach it in school because this is good, and you, if you're not one of these initials, you are bad. Folks, whether it's the United States or Canada or any place else, you can't go through life mindlessly, especially when you are a government in charge of controlling the lives of tens or hundreds of millions of people. You've got to know. Emotions aren't enough. We'll take a break, and we'll come back with more Real Truth.
Energy crisis of the 70s, a lot of people panicked. We came up with a best way to inflate that, save you money and increase your income. A best way to air and add inflation to your ass. A best way to inflate the wall cap, whether your house is brick, aluminum, steel, vinyl, wood glass, ductile, plastic. Even if your walls were previously a best way to perform energy assessment. The best way to help our country qualify for themselves and their utilities. 43 years later, a lot of our competition has come and gone. A few things that have we're still family operated, still developing defense. We are still saving energy, of course, saving our country. Best way in place, founded in 1976, 303 469 0808. That's 303 469 0808. Information you won't find anywhere else. Reality show right here on KHNC, the heart of Northern Colorado, KHNC.
Hey guys, you'll never guess who the newest Hitler is, who the newest evil person is. No, you'll never guess. Well, maybe you will guess. It's William Barr, our Attorney General. How do we know he's evil? Well, because he just had a whole bunch of Democrat politicians calling him evil yesterday and today. Or yesterday, at least. He works for the Trump administration. That's it. He's a liar. He's helping cover up collusion with Russia. Of course, there was no collusion. But he's helping cover it up. You have pieces of snot like Kamala Harris and Cory Booker who want to be president, and so they are saying anything that they think will get them closer to the goal line with their empty-headed voter base. And so here's an honorable, honest guy, William Barr, used to be Attorney General many years ago. He's back. Everyone in the world who knows him or has worked with him swears that he's A+, just like, what's that you say? Yes, just like Brett Kavanaugh. Brett Kavanaugh also came to his hearings with a spotless, pristine record, and he was savaged by the Democrat scumbag politicians. Now it's William Barr's turn. Here's Laura Ingraham weighing in.
But first, I want you to understand the most crucial part of Barr's Senate testimony and what it tells us about where we're going over the next several months. And beyond all the fake outrage over Bob Mueller disagreeing with Barr's release of the summary without his summary and the slanderous attacks on the Attorney General today, this is the most important thing to know.
When I first heard
at the March 5th meeting when he came over to the department, and we were frankly surprised that they were not going to reach a decision on obstruction. And we asked them a lot about the reasoning behind this and the basis for this. Special Counsel Mueller stated 3 times to us in that meeting, in response to our questioning, that he emphatically was not saying that but for the OLC opinion, he would have found obstruction.
Okay, this is stunning. What all of this means is that despite all the chatter and gossip, hair pulling today, despite the continuing leaks, Mueller was unable to find obstruction. And further, the Justice Department, their long-standing opinion from the OLC that a sitting president cannot be indicted, had no bearing on Mueller's findings. Notice that the legal geniuses over at MSNBC did not interrupt their live coverage of the hearing to highlight what I just shared with you, because they were too busy doing fantastical real-time fact checks, which I'm going to show you in just a moment. But this was my favorite description of the day.
The special counsel investigation started by his hand-picked deputy attorney general.
We will continue to hear from the president's hand-picked attorney general.
Trump's hand-picked attorney general, William Barr.
Misbehavior by his hand-picked attorney general. This Roy Cohn type guy who's working for him, not the country.
No, wait a second. Was the attorney general in the Trump administration supposed to be picked by Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer? Would they prefer a randomly selected AG? Just pull someone off the street?
Folks, excuse me for interrupting, Laura. I told you that Democrats, liberals, think in blocks. They march together in lockstep. And so if you hear one liberal moron on TV say hand-picked attorney general, another one's going to say it, and another, and another, and another, and another question. Has there ever been an attorney general who is not hand-picked? Every president chooses his attorney general, and so every attorney general has been hand-picked. They're saying it hoping that you are stupid, and you will pick up on this nuance they're trying to get across. Trump picked this guy by hand. He's going to do Trump's dirty work. He's going to lie for Trump. He's going to help collude with the Russians. This is why I say journalism is in the toilet. This is an obvious and open attempt by the media to color their coverage, to manipulate your opinions. Hand-picked attorney general. Well, if anything, I think we should tip our hats to Donald Trump for hand-picking an especially excellent attorney general, which William Barr is.
We can just go to a law instead. Every attorney general is selected by the sitting president. He serves at the pleasure of the president. Every single one of them. So these people, in these other media outlets, they don't even know just basic government functioning, I guess. They're just spinning foolishness. And the media were not alone in their slanderous attacks on Barr, of course. Having determined that there was no Trump-Russia collusion, Democrats have now moved on to a Trump-Barr collusion narrative.
I think history will judge you harshly. That conclusion is inescapable.
You've not only put your own credibility into question, but seem to be giving sanction to behavior through the language you used in that press conference you held.
You lied. Being Attorney General of the United States is a sacred trust. You have betrayed that trust. America deserves better.
This is Mazie Hirono. She's the brainless representative from Hawaii. She is among the most outspoken rectums in the Democrat Party. And she is slandering and insulting William Barr, who's done absolutely nothing wrong, has not lied, in fact, has raised the level of the Attorney General's office, and she's trying to score political points.
You should resign.
This is the ugliness of the Democrat Party. This is the venality of the Democrats, the dishonesty, the hatred of the Democrats. They've been shown on the national stage to be fools, and they're angry. And they're going to take it out on anybody they can. And if they get someone sitting in front of them who's part of the Trump administration, you can bet they are going to be savaged. Well, what comes out of this whole grisly affair is that William Barr looks better than ever. And these political whores, Cory Booker, Mazie Hirono, Blumenthal, they are shown to the American public to be garbage. They are garbage. They are the very worst of us. They are the swamp. For God's sake, folks, let's get the hell rid of these guys and get back to an honest, open, representative government. Item from Breitbart: Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, was paid for his work as a board member of a Ukrainian oligarch-owned energy company while his father was vice president, the New York Times confirms. According to the Times, Hunter Biden was paid as much as $50,000 per month in some months as a board member of Burisma Holdings, a natural gas firm owned by a member of the Ukrainian oligarchy. Vice President Biden was heavily involved in mediating U.S. policy towards the Ukraine. When the Ukrainian prosecutor launched a corruption investigation into the energy company Hunter Biden was a board member of, Joe Biden threatened to withhold $1 billion in U.S. loan guarantees to the country if the Ukrainian government didn't fire the prosecutor. As John Solomon of The Hill reported, Biden's threat would have thrown the former Soviet republic into insolvency at a time when Ukraine was fending off threats from Vladimir Putin's Russia. Unquote. My friends, I've told you, and other people have told you, Joe Biden is a true scum. And of course, he's the leading Democrat candidate. Item from Breitbart: MSNBC's top 3 shows all suffered a double-digits rating drop in the wake of the Mueller report's exposure of the Russian collusion hoax. Meanwhile, hapless CNN, a far-left fake news network that encourages political violence against the right, failed to place even a single one of its shows in the top 25. Unquote. MSNBC and CNN are garbage. And more Americans are coming to recognize the fact that they are garbage, which is why no one's watching them anymore. Item from Breitbart. The country's top union bosses are hoping millions of American workers forget about former Vice President Joe Biden's longtime support of the NAFTA deal, which helped to eliminate nearly 5 million U.S. manufacturing jobs in the 2020 presidential election. From the start, Biden has attempted to position himself in the crowded 2020 Democrat presidential primary field as a fighter for American union workers. For his first rally in Pennsylvania, Biden picked up endorsements from the union bosses with the state's union United Steelworkers and the International Association of Firefighters. Unquote. Folks, those union bosses are also whores. God knows what favors they're getting for throwing support behind Biden. But Biden is responsible, as you just heard, for the loss of somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 million manufacturing jobs. I thought that union bosses are supposed to be pro-jobs for Americans. Item from Breitbart. An illegal alien convict who had previously been granted refugee status by the federal government and was supposed to be deported has now been charged with murdering execution-style a Miami, Florida father of one. Illegal alien 29-year-old David Panerkes has been charged with murdering 31-year-old Leandro Lopez this month after surveillance cameras captured the alleged killing in March, depicting an armed Panerkes shooting Lopez to death. Prosecutors in Massachusetts have alleged that a Lawrence teen murdered and beheaded a classmate in a jealous rage because he thought the victim slept with his girlfriend. Matthew Borges, who was 15 in 2016 at the time of the crime, was arrested and is now on trial for the brutal murder and dismembering of 16-year-old classmate Lee Manuel Viloria Paulino, the New York Post reported. All right, guys, we're done. I'll be back on Monday. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Stay angry. Hasta luego.